What happens when Barack Obama calmly dismantles Donald Trump's record on live TV and the entire nation watches Trump lose his cool? In real time, the answer left millions questioning what true leadership really looks like. The cameras were already oiling when Barack Obama leaned forward slightly in his chair, his voice calm but steady, the kind of tone that made people stop what they were doing and listen. It wasn't a rally. It wasn't a private speech. It was live television, a primetime interview in front of millions of Americans. The host had asked a simple question about leadership in today's climate. Obama could have kept it vague, offered a polished but generic answer. Instead, he decided to be precise. You know, he said, his eyes never breaking from the camera, when leaders make promises to the American people, it's important that their actions match their words. And when they don't, we have to call that out. The studio audience, quiet up until then, leaned in. The host nodded, sensing where this was going. But Obama didn't raise his voice, didn't frown or smirk. He simply began to list examples, recent ones of Trump's business dealings, that contradicted his own earlier pledges. He mentioned contracts in Arizona that fell through, a failed project in Nevada, where local workers claimed they never got paid in full, and comments Trump had made on the campaign trail that now seemed empty compared to his current statements. Each point was tied to a date, a record, a direct quote, nothing speculative, nothing exaggerated. Obama spoke like a lawyer, presenting evidence, stacking one fact on top of another until the weight of it became undeniable. The host, trying to keep up, glanced nervously at his notes. So you're saying these contradictions, these gaps are intentional? Obama didn't smile. I'm saying the American people deserve honesty. Leadership isn't just about what you say on stage. It's about whether your record matches your words. And in this case, the record tells a very different story. For a moment, the room was silent. The kind of silence that isn't empty, but heavy, where you know everyone is processing what was just said. The interview continued, but clips of that exchange were already being cut, captioned, and sent racing across social media before the program had even gone to its first commercial break on Twitter. Short clips with subtitles were posted within minutes. One user wrote, "Obama just dismantled Trump on live TV without even raising his voice," on Facebook. Longer edits popped up, with commentary spreading like wildfire among political groups. TikTok users clipped the exact moment Obama leaned forward, looping his calm expression against Trump's past quotes. By the end of the hour, the hashtag Obama exposes Trump was trending across every platform. What struck people wasn't just what Obama said, but how he said it. No shouting, no insults, no performance, just facts delivered in a way that felt unshakable. Meanwhile, across town, Trump was reportedly watching. According to aides, who later leaked details, he had been in the middle of a casual dinner at his Mar-a-Lago residence when the segment aired. At first, he laughed it off, telling those at the table, "Same old Obama, nothing new." But as the minutes passed and the video kept replaying, his laughter faded. He pulled out his phone, scrolling furiously through Twitter, watching the clips gain traction. His hands shook slightly as he typed fake news. "Obama is lying again. Disgraceful interview." The tweet went out instantly, but instead of slowing the momentum, it only drew more attention to the story. Newsrooms across the country were already preparing their headlines. Obama fact checks. Trump leave on air, calm. Obama furious. Trump cable networks began playing side-by-side footage. Obama speaking with quiet precision. Trump ranting on social media in all caps. The contrast was undeniable. For viewers at home, the moment felt like a split screen of two Americas, one where calm leadership and evidence spoke louder than anger, and another where rage fueled every word. Parents sitting in their living rooms in cities like Phoenix and Columbus whispered to each other about how different the two men looked in that moment. College students crowded in dorm lounges replayed the clip, some laughing, others shaking their heads at the drama. Retirees in coffee shops debated whether this was a turning point or just another headline. The country had seen heated exchanges before, but something about this struck differently. Maybe it was the timing. Maybe it was how effortlessly Obama dismantled Trump's narrative. Or maybe it was because, for once, there wasn't any shouting, just clarity. But clarity can be the sharpest weapon of all. And while Obama had wielded it with precision, Trump was about to strike back with fury. The next morning, newspapers across the country carried the same image: Barack Obama seated comfortably, his hands folded, speaking with that deliberate calm that had become his trademark. The photo itself wasn't dramatic, but the headlines that framed it made clear how big the moment had become. Obama calls out Trump's broken promises, facts versus fury. A nation reacts in Washington, D.C. television screens inside Union Station. Played the clip on repeat, travelers on their way to work. Slowed down, earbuds half pulled out, staring as Obama's words replayed yet again at a Starbucks near the Capitol. Two staffers from different offices shared a table. One shook her head, whispering, he didn't even need to raise his voice. That's what made it sting. But Obama himself wasn't lingering on it that morning. He had breakfast quietly with Michelle at their home in Kalama. She teased him lightly, saying, "You realize you broke the internet again, right?" He chuckled, but brushed it aside for him. It hadn't been about going viral. It had been about drawing a line in the sand between rhetoric and reality. Later that day, Obama sat down with his longtime advisor, Martin Fields, in a modest office a few blocks from DuPont Circle. Martin leaned back in his chair, shaking his head with a mix of pride and caution. "You knew what you were doing, Barack," he said. "I just told the truth," Obama replied. "Yeah, but the truth cuts sharper when you deliver it like that. Trump's not going to let it slide. You've poked the bear." Obama didn't flinch. "I didn't poke anything. If he feels cornered by facts, that's on him." Meanwhile, in Palm Beach, Trump's inner circle was buzzing. He had spent much of the previous night firing off statements on Truth Social, each one more heated than the last. By morning, aides were scrambling to contain the fallout. "Sir, the coverage is everywhere." One advisor told him Fox is trying to spin it, but even they keep replaying the clip. "It's dominating the cycle." Trump slammed his hand on the table. "It's a setup. Obama planned this. He's trying to humiliate me and the media. They're all in on it." The advisor tried to steer him towards strategy. "If we respond with policy specifics, we can counter this. We can point out where his record wasn't perfect." But Trump wasn't listening. His mind was fixated on the image of Obama sitting coolly, dismantling him, without breaking a sweat. The contrast, the calm professor versus the furious ex-president, was eating at him. Back in Chicago, a group of college students gathered in a dorm lounge at the University of Illinois. One student, recording on her phone, narrated for her followers, "We're literally watching Obama fact-check live for the 5th time. This man didn't yell once. And Trump's losing his mind. This is history in real time." Her clip racked up hundreds of thousands of views. By the end of the day, cable networks took notice of how ordinary people were engaging with it. CNN invited former speechwriters and body language experts to analyze Obama's performance. MSNBC ran a side-by-side montage of his calm delivery versus Trump's all-caps posts. Even conservative radio hosts, though defensive of Trump, admitted the optics were hard to fight at the same time. Inside Obama's circle, there was quiet debate. Martin warned again, "If this spirals, you could be pulled deeper into the 2024 mess. Is that really what you want?" Obama leaned back, taking a breath. "I want the country to remember what steady leadership looks like. If that stirs up noise, so be it." It wasn't bravado. It was clarity. But clarity on one side often sparks chaos on the other. And as the day went on, the atmosphere inside Trump's circle was moving from frustration to fury. He wasn't content with firing off angry posts anymore. He wanted a stage, a microphone, an audience. "Line me up with Hannity tonight." Trump barked at his aides. "We're going live. I'll set the record straight. People need to hear the truth from me, not from that guy reading off his notes." His team exchanged uneasy glances. They knew live interviews could be unpredictable, but there was no stopping him once he'd made up his mind. By late afternoon, promos were already running on Fox News. Trump responds live to Obama's attacks tonight at 9. Obama, back in D.C., saw the promo flash across a muted TV screen in the corner of his office. He didn't react, didn't comment, just returned to the document he was reviewing. But silence has its own weight, and while Obama stayed quiet, the stage was being set for Trump to erupt in full view of the nation. The lights in the Fox News studio glared down on Donald Trump as he adjusted his red tie, tugging at the knot. With a sharp motion, his jaw moved side to side, a tell he had before going on air. Like a boxer bouncing before the bell, producers hovered just outside the frame, whispering cues to each other. Hannity, seated across from him, leaned forward with that familiar look of anticipation. He knew tonight's interview wasn't going to be calm. It was going to be a spectacle as soon as the segment began. Hannity wasted no time. "Mr. President, last night Barack Obama accused you of lying to the American people and pointed to your business record. What do you say to that?" Trump straightened in his chair. "See, let me tell you, it's disgraceful. Nobody's been treated worse than me. Obama is jealous. Okay, jealous. I built an incredible empire, an amazing presidency, the best economy this country ever had, and now he comes on television, spreading fake numbers, fake stories. It's a witch hunt, another witch hunt." His voice rose, his hands slicing the air. He repeated himself, piling phrase on phrase, each angrier than the last. Hannity tried to guide him toward policy, asking about job growth or trade, but Trump kept circling back to Obama. "Obama's a failure. Everyone knows it. If you look at what he did, weak leadership, terrible deals, foreign policy disasters. I cleaned up his mess, and now he's attacking me. Disgraceful. Totally disgraceful." Back at home, millions of viewers watched. Some cheered him on, others couldn't believe what they were hearing. Social media filled with side-by-side clips. Obama calmly citing records and Trump red-faced railing against invisible enemies. The difference was stark. In a living room in Des Moines, Iowa, a retired couple sat on their couch watching the exchange. The husband shook his head slowly. "He's not even answering the question. Obama gave receipts. This is just yelling." His wife replied softly, "People will see it. They'll know the difference." Meanwhile, in Phoenix, a group of Trump loyalists gathered in a sports bar. They clapped and hollered at every jab he threw. "That's our guy," one man shouted, raising his beer. But even within that group, a younger woman frowned, murmuring, "He sounds more upset than usual. It's not landing the same inside the studio." Hannity kept trying to pivot. "Mr. President, let's focus on the future. If you run again, how will you?" But Trump cut him off. "We're running. We're going to win. And Obama, he'll regret opening his mouth. Because when people look at the facts, really look at the facts, they'll see I was right all along." The problem was Obama had presented the facts, and Trump's furious tone only amplified that contrast. Later that night, clips from the Hannity interview circulated almost as quickly as Obama's original comments. But instead of clearing his name, Trump's outburst gave critics more ammunition headlines. The next morning read, "Trump meltdown on live TV, facts versus fury round 2. Obama stays quiet, Trump loses control." Even some Republicans admitted privately that the optics were damaging. One senator speaking off the record, to a reporter side, "It looked like Obama was the adult in the room and Trump was the kid throwing a tantrum." Obama, for his part, said nothing. No press release, no rebuttal. He went about his day quietly, visiting a local school in Maryland to talk about civic engagement. Cameras followed him, capturing images of him smiling with students, shaking hands with teachers, answering their questions thoughtfully. The footage made the contrast even sharper while Trump was still raging about Obama's remarks. Obama was already moving on, staying grounded in community work. The public noticed at a diner in Toledo, a group of truckers debated over breakfast. One leaned back in his booth, saying, "I didn't vote for Obama, but you got to admit, the guy's smooth. He cut Trump down without even trying." Another loyal to Trump grumbled, "Smooth. Don't mean honest Trump fights. That's what I like." But a third chimed in, "Yeah, but fighting ain't the same as leading. Look at last night." He looked desperate. The conversation echoed across the country. A split screen, not just on TV, but in everyday life. Obama's calm logic versus Trump's anger. Evidence versus emotion. But anger has a way of growing, especially when fueled by humiliation. And as Trump stewed over the coverage, the battle was about to spill beyond the television screen and onto every social platform in America by sunrise. The next day, the internet had transformed into a battlefield. Twitter timelines were flooded with clips of Obama's composed interview spliced against Trump's heated Fox News segment. The side-by-side comparisons weren't kind. One caption read, "Leadership versus meltdown." Another showed Obama calmly listing facts, while Trump shouted in all caps with the words "find the difference." Plastered on top on TikTok, creators stitched Obama's quotes into trending sounds. A video that racked up over 1 million views in just hours opened with Obama saying leadership is about honesty before cutting to Trump, yelling about witch hunts. The edit was set to dramatic music and teenagers in the comments joked, "This feels like a Netflix documentary in real time." Even on Facebook, where Trump traditionally enjoyed stronger support, the divide was clear. Older voters shared the clips, arguing furiously in the comments. One grandmother from Indianapolis wrote, "Obama never needed to scream. That's real strength." A Trump supporter fired back, "He's a liar. Trump is the only one who tells it straight." Dozens of replies followed, some cordial, many not inside. Trump's team aides monitored the chaos. A communication staffer named Carla sat at her desk, scrolling through trending hashtags. Obama exposes Trump, had Trump meltdown, had calms chaos. "They're everywhere," she muttered. Another aide tried to reassure her. "It'll blow over, these things always do." But Carla shook her head. "Not this time. The memes are brutal, and once people laugh at you, it's hard to get control back." Trump himself was glued to his phone, scrolling furiously. He barked across the room, "Look at this garbage. They're making me look weak. Weak. I was strong. The strongest. Nobody's ever been stronger." He slammed the phone on the table, red-faced, before grabbing it again to fire off another post. "Obama is the worst president in history. Totally dishonest. Terrible for America." The post went viral, but not the way he intended. Screenshots spread with sarcastic captions. "Sir, this is a Wendy's." Others paired his words with clips of him, Obama, smiling with school children in Maryland. Just hours earlier, the contrast became impossible to ignore. Meanwhile, in Cleveland, two high school teachers discussed the moment during their lunch break. One pulled out her phone, showing her colleague a TikTok where students had edited Obama's calm delivery into a rap beat. "They're learning politics through memes now," she said. The other teacher laughed, but then grew serious. "At least they're paying attention and they can see who's keeping it together." Cable networks picked up on the social media wildfire almost instantly. CNN ran a segment called The Meme War, Obama versus Trump. MSNBC brought in a cultural critic who argued, "This isn't just politics, it's about image. Obama looks steady, Trump looks rattled. That's what sticks in people's minds." Even Fox had difficulty spinning it. On one morning show, a host attempted to pivot by criticizing Obama's record, but the producers still ran the clip side by side with Trump's angry reaction. Viewers at home couldn't miss the contrast. In Los Angeles, a group of college students gathered outside a cafe, laughing as they replayed the clips on their phones. "It's like watching two different species." One said. Another added, "Yeah, one's playing chess, the other's flipping the board." Not all reactions were playful, though. In parts of rural Pennsylvania, Trump supporters doubled down, posting messages of loyalty. "We don't care what Obama says," one wrote in a local Facebook group. "Trump fights for us. That's all that matters." The thread grew to hundreds of comments, half defending Trump's passion, half mocking his anger. Political strategists across the spectrum were watching closely. One Democratic consultant noted, "Obama doesn't even have to say another word. The contrast is doing the work for him." Meanwhile, a Republican strategist privately admitted, "It's bad optics when your opponent looks calm and you look furious. You're losing the middle ground." As the day stretched on, Obama remained silent. No tweets, no interviews. He let the storms swirl without stepping into it. His silence became part of the narrative, proof to many of discipline and restraint. By evening, the memes, edits, and commentaries had reached a fever pitch. Social media wasn't just amplifying the story. It was shaping the way Americans perceived it. To many, Obama had landed a knockout blow without even raising his hand again. But political storms never stay confined to screens for long. And as the wildfire spread online, the next battleground was already forming on cable news, where pundits were eager to dissect every second of what had just happened. By the time the evening news rolled around, the story had grown into a full-blown television spectacle. Every major network had cleared space in their programming schedules to cover the fallout from Obama's remarks and Trump's fiery response. It was the kind of moment producers dream of: drama, politics, and two of the most recognizable names in America colliding in real time on CNN. Anderson Cooper opened his show with a clip. "Let's take another look at this exchange," he said, his voice carrying that deliberate weight he used when something mattered. The footage rolled: Obama calmly laying out facts, then Trump in the Fox studio, visibly heated, chopping the air with his hands when the screen returned to the studio. Cooper raised an eyebrow. The contrast speaks for itself at MSNBC. Rachel Matt's producers had gone a step further. They had prepared a side-by-side montage: Obama citing a contract dispute in Arizona, followed immediately by Trump dismissing him as jealous Obama, listing a broken campaign pledge, Trump shouting about witch hunts. The montage ran 3 times, and each time Ann shook her head with a slight smile. "This is not just a clash of personalities," she said. "This is a clash of styles, and right now style is substance." Meanwhile, over at Fox, Sean Hannity worked hard to frame the interview as proof of Trump's resilience. He played clips of Obama's interview, but his tone was dismissive. Obama reading off his notes like he always does. Hannity said, "This is the same guy who gave us 8 years of weakness, and now he wants to lecture President Trump." Still, even as he defended Trump, the network kept showing the footage, feeding the contrast further. In Philadelphia, a group of friends gathered at a neighborhood bar. The TVs tuned to MSNBC. The bartender, drying glasses, nodded toward the screen. "He looks rattled, doesn't he?" One of the regulars replied, "Yeah, Trump's got energy, but it's all fire. Obama's got ice, and ice lasts longer." Another chimed in, "It's like watching a boxer throw wild punches while the other guy just stands there waiting across the country in Dallas." A different scene played out. A family sat in their living room with Fox on. The father shook his head, saying, "They're trying to make Trump look crazy. They always do." But his teenage daughter pushed back. "Dad just watched. He does look kind of out of control." The father paused, not ready to agree, but unable to dismiss it entirely. Cable news panels dissected every angle. Body language experts explained how Obama's relaxed posture communicated confidence. Communication specialists broke down the tone of each man's voice. Obama's steady cadence versus Trump's rising pitch. Even sports commentators, invited as cultural voices, compared it to a lopsided game on CNN. A former Republican strategist admitted, "Look, this is rough." Obama laid out facts without theatrics, and Trump responded with anger. "That's not how you win the middle ground." A Democratic analyst sitting beside him added, "Obama doesn't need to run again. He's already making his point by showing the difference between leadership and reaction." The coverage wasn't confined to politics alone. Late-night talk shows jumped on it instantly. On The Late Show, Stephen Colbert opened with a joke. Obama gave a calm interview. Trump gave us an audition for Real Housewives of Mar-a-Lago. The audience roared with laughter. On Jimmy Kimmel, live and edited skit ran showing Obama sipping tea, while Trump yelled in the background. Each joke, each replay, each commentary segment only deepened the impression Obama had scored a quiet but devastating win. While Trump looked cornered and angry back in Washington, Obama watched none of it. Instead, he attended a dinner with friends at a small restaurant in Georgetown. A fellow guest asked him, "Did you see Hannity tonight?" Obama smiled faintly and shook his head. "I don't need to," he said. "I know how this game works." But Trump wasn't smiling in Palm Beach. He stayed up past midnight, calling allies, demanding loyalty, venting about betrayal. "They're all laughing at me," he fumed to one confidant. "Obama thinks he's so smart, but I'll show him." And while cable news replayed the clips endlessly, fueling national debates, Trump's anger was building into something more personal. Because for him, this wasn't just about politics anymore. It was about pride. And pride doesn't fade quietly by the weekend. Trump's anger had hardened into something sharper. The outbursts on social media weren't slowing down. In fact, they were escalating. He wasn't just criticizing Obama's interview anymore. He was going after him personally, dredging up old grievances and throwing them into the spotlight with renewed fury on Truth Social. His posts read like fire alarms. "Obama was the worst president ever. Weak, corrupt, and dishonest. Everyone knows it. Don't forget his failures. Obamacare disaster, foreign policy disaster. Everything a disaster. And then the most telling, why is Obama even talking? He had his turn. Now he's desperate for attention. Because I'm winning again. The words were bold. The letters oversized, every post laced with capital letters. His supporters cheered. But critics saw something else. Insecurity bleeding through every line at a rally in Tampa. Trump took it further, standing before thousands. He pointed directly at the cameras. Did you see Obama the other night sitting there like he's so perfect, reading off his little cards? Pathetic. He lies, folks. He lies more than anyone. And they treat him like a saint. The crowd roared, some chanting his name. But others watching at home noticed how often Obama's name came up. How much space he seemed to occupy in Trump's head in Washington. Obama's friends debated whether he should respond. Martin Fields, his longtime advisor, paced in his office. He's making it personal now. Barack, you can't just sit on your hands forever. Obama leaned back in his chair, calm as ever. I'm not here to trade insults, Martin. That's not leadership. If he wants to shout, let him shout. Martin pressed, but people might see your silence as weakness. Obama shook his head. No, they'll see the difference. One man's losing control. The other isn't taking the bait. Meanwhile, everyday Americans were noticing the same thing. At a diner outside Pittsburgh, a group of steel workers watched Trump's rally on TV during lunch. One of them, chewing, slowly said, "He's obsessed." Every other word out of his mouth is Obama. Another nodded. It's like Obama's renting space in his head for free. In Los Angeles, a podcast panel debated the moment. This isn't just politics anymore. One host argued, it's personal. Trump feels humiliated, and when he feels humiliated, he lashes out. That's his pattern. Her co-host replied, meanwhile, Obama's strategy is silence. It's brilliant. The more Trump rants, the smaller he looks next to Obama's calm. Even conservative circles weren't entirely aligned. A Republican senator asked about Trump's attacks, sighed before choosing his words carefully. I think Americans are tired of personal insults. They want solutions, not schoolyard fights, but Trump wasn't hearing any of that. Surrounded by loyalists at Mar-a-Lago, he grew more animated with each conversation. One aide recalled him slamming a stack of newspapers on the table. Look at this. They're all running with Obama's side. They're protecting him. It's a witch hunt. The biggest one yet. Another aide tried to calm him. Sir, if we focus on policy, we can reset the narrative. Trump shot back. Forget policy. People want to fight her. I'll hit harder than anyone's ever hit before. His words weren't just rhetoric. They were a declaration of intent. The insults grew harsher, the tone more aggressive. In one phone call to a friendly radio host, Trump labeled Obama a total fraud and a national embarrassment. The host tried to steer the conversation back to 2024, but Trump kept circling back to Obama again and again. The obsession was palpable for Americans tuning in. The contrast grew sharper with each passing day. Obama stayed focused on his schedule, meeting with educators, visiting community centers, speaking at a small-town library in Ohio. About the importance of civic duty, cameras caught him shaking hands with teenagers. His expression relaxed, his words thoughtful. The images told their own story. One man locked in a shouting match with himself. The other walking quietly through neighborhoods, connecting face-to-face in living rooms, in offices, in break rooms across the country. People were asking the same question. Who looked more like a leader? But Trump wasn't asking questions anymore. He was issuing attacks faster and louder by the day, and as his words grew sharper, the country itself was beginning to respond, not just online, but in everyday conversations that carried more weight than any rally ever could. By Monday morning, the clash between Obama and Trump wasn't just a news story. It had become a kitchen table conversation. Across America, people weren't only debating what was said, they were comparing how each man carried himself, and in those comparisons, a picture was forming at a small diner in Toledo. A waitress named Brenda poured coffee for two regulars. The men, both factory workers, had the morning paper spread across the counter. Obama's calm photo was on the front page next to a screenshot of Trump mid-shout, finger jabbing the air. One of the men squinted at the paper. Look at this one. Looks like a teacher. the other like he's about to blow a gasket. Brenda leaned in with a smirk. Guess which one people are going to trust more in a high school classroom in Denver? A civics teacher played both clips back to back for his students. The room filled with laughter during Trump's rant, then quiet during Obama's steady voice when the video ended. A student raised her hand. So basically, one of them talks facts and the other just yells. The teacher smiled. That's one way to put it. Across the country in Phoenix, a group of truckers sat outside a gas station on their break watching the clips on a phone. One, wiping grease from his hand, shook his head. I voted for Trump, but man, he looks rattled. Obama didn't even raise his voice, another replied. Yeah, but people like a fighter. They like fire. The first man took a drag from his cigarette and muttered, there's fire, and then there's losing your cool, big difference. Even late-night comedians were becoming part of the public's judgment. Jimmy Fallon joked, Obama gave America a masterclass in calm leadership. Trump gave us a masterclass in how not to handle criticism. Audiences laughed, but the point stuck. Meanwhile, Obama stayed the course that week. He visited a community center in Indianapolis, where he spoke to a group of high school volunteers. Cameras caught him listening intently as a teenager described her project to clean up local parks. His words were measured, focused on civic,